Welcome everybody to Extreme Off-Road Silly Bills, and today we're dealing with the 2020 Ferrari SF90 Stradale. Now this has 1,382 horsepower, 1,278 pounds-feet of torque from its 4-litre twin turbocharged V8 hybrid setup, and it now weighs 3,150 pounds, has off-road tyres and off-road suspension to go with its stock all-wheel drive system, and it can now do 0 to 60 in 2.446 seconds and 0 to 104.866 seconds, and it can go into a top speed of 251 miles an hour. So yeah, as you can see by the stats, this is pretty a formidable car. Launch, acceleration and speed are all great, although obviously the top speed really isn't going to come into play here. Handling and braking is pretty excellent, and even the off-road capability for what is obviously a Ferrari is pretty damn good as well. Now this isn't the first Ferrari we've had on this series. The FXXK Evo was the first, but that was on the lower end of the leaderboard at 3 minutes 30.511, so I'm hoping this can do at least better than that. So yeah, and it has all of the things going for it to do better than that. It's got plenty of torque, which will help out of the corners. Already had all-wheel drive standard, so it's not having to get used to that. Weighs very little for a car with this amount of power, and obviously the acceleration, the handling and the braking are pretty good as well. So yeah, we could well see a new leader here if all goes well. Obviously the outright speed is going to help as well, but it can also be a hindrance at times. You've got to be careful. It's very easy to make a big mistake on this and lose a lot of time. Yes, we do have our rewinds, but there's only 3 of them, and at the end of the day that can make you more cautious when you eventually do use them, because you don't want to fail even more spectacularly like that, for instance. Oh, that was a near crash. Massive amount of speed there, nearly 170 miles an hour. Big air time. Whoa. Surprised it landed as well as it did there. Although I wouldn't want to do that landing in a real life SF90, because you and the car would be broken forever. So yeah, at least it managed it well here. It's a very tight section that is, and yeah, it's not the worst that a car has done, but it's hardly the best. Careful, I've got a wheel spin, thank you very much. Oh dear. It's very easy for this car to run away from you just because of how quick it is. But that's going to be a detriment or not, we'll have to see. To be honest, maybe that's a combination of how stiff the chassis is, but then along with this soft suspension, it's just not quite working in tandem the way you'd want it to. Well, we're not going to be the fastest, but we are going to be way faster than the FXXK Evo with a time of 3 minutes 22.611 seconds, which puts us into 7th place, more than a second ahead of the Toyota Hilux AT38, as well as beating the DeLorean DMC12, the Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro, and it knocks the MG MG3 out of the top 10. And yeah, we're nearly 8 seconds faster than the FXXK Evo, only 0.1 of a second off, 8 seconds faster. So yeah, that is pretty formidable, to be honest. Yeah, it did seem like it was getting carried away a little bit at times, and it was quite bouncy as well, which I think is due to the fact that it's got quite a stiff chassis, being a hypercar and everything, but you combine that with the really rather soft off-road suspension, and the suspension is really soft, so it's quite bouncy, but then when it does hit the floor it bounces back up because of how stiff the chassis is. That it's just, yeah, it just combines to make quite a bouncy ride. So yeah, that was a bit unfortunate at times, because it was feeling like I had to let off just so it wouldn't, you know, bounce further and, you know, be in the air. And when obviously you're in the air, you can't brake, you can't steer, so yeah, you have to try and keep it on the ground as much as possible, and that's why I had to let off at times and not go quite flat out. But yeah, that is still an impressive time, especially considering, you know, this isn't meant for going off-road. Yes, it has all-wheel drive, but that's purely meant for, you know, handling the power it had and providing as much grip around the track or on the road as possible, whereas pretty much every car here you'd expect to be able to go off-road, especially with, you know, the SUVs, the Nissan Safari Z 370Z Safari Rally Tribute, which is just in front of us. You know, like the case of the Tacoma, which is still in 4th, and then obviously the Liberty Toyota Tacoma is in 1st. So yeah, but on the whole, that is mighty impressive, and yeah, a massive improvement over the previous fastest Ferrari, which was our previous only Ferrari. So yeah, really surprised by how quick that was, to be honest. I was expecting it to be quick. I would have liked it to be quicker, but considering everything it had going against it, it could well have easily been slower. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.